have turned again. Oh, how the turntables have turned again around, turned. Oh, how the tables have turned around again to turn. Look, DDG
That quote has always been straight up trash.
flipped the whole script on Halle, and let's talk about it. Just yesterday on June 4th, DDG
All right, let's take a look. DDG has filed for an emergency court order to block Halle Bailey from taking their child to Italy. Let's see what's been going on.
Baily, who was granted a restraining order against her ex, DDG. Photographic evidence show her with a bruised arm and chipped tooth. Halle accuses the rapper of being physically, verbally, emotionally, and financially abusive, sometimes in front of their almost 17-month-old son. She claims DDG was violent in January when he took Halo for visitation. Quote, "At one point, Daryl was pulling my hair. He then slammed my face on the steering wheel, causing my tooth to get chipped. I then stopped fighting back."
That's why in life there's always two sides to the story. Of course, there's always this bias of taking the woman's side first, but facts are facts, so let's see what is factual and what is not true.
filed for an emergency court order for Halle Bailey to not be able to take their child Halo to Italy while she did some filming.
Like, come on, you got self-harm, you got, what else we got here? Putting air tags, tagging people.
How'd that get in there?
Physically assaulting him. We got another Amber Turd situation.
Slapping him in front of the family. She's calling him all type of names. The son is there. He sees this. It's just becoming too toxic.
He was claiming a lot of things about Halle and her relationship with Halo and DDG. Things that include things about self.
I didn't know their kid's name was Halo. I wonder who came up with that. Was it the dad or her? That's interesting.
Using the self-harming tactic that she does. But now let's talk about the actual.
That is one of the most toxic forms of trying to keep a relationship together. There are people who do this crap and it is just emotional hostage taking, and it is just, it's disgusting. Like, I'm almost at a loss for words to describe how pathetic it is. Though it's very effective, because at the end of the day, you feel like if you have the person's blood on your hands if something wrong happens, but it isn't the right thing to do to someone, and it's not even sound for you to feel bad, but it's just so complex. There's no way to express it until you actually go through it, and I think people like that need to be locked up and Baker acted.
Allegedly an aberration was involved in not taking the doses, taking his strap and running around the house, putting air tags in cars, physical violence, and all sorts of other crazy things. And as I was going to record this video, less than 24 hours later, we got an update that was actually,
"Sir, I beg you, please."
Denied by the judges. The judges said that she can remain with sole custody and that she can take
Denied. I wonder why.
The child wherever she does please. And I know a lot of the internet and timeline is upset and trying to figure out left from right, up from down, but let's unpack everything that we know so we can come to a conclusion together as a family. At this point, I am tired. I just clicked off of recording this video and it has just come out that DDG was actually granted that restraining order, that temporary restraining order.
What? We got a switcheroonie that just happened that quick? And they should have, because those type of allegations, if they are true, is not something to be taken lightly, because we do know that, yeah, you can have the female bias, but at a certain point it becomes almost negligent for a judge to be like, nah, we're going to ignore all of that. You can't.
This is why it's so tiring to have these conversations on the internet, because there's so many bad faith actors and people who want to push narratives and agendas and things like that. But honestly, I am tired of talking about this. And you'll see that throughout the rest of the video. But I just wanted to give the update here that DDG actually did get granted that temporary restraining order. So there's some equal justice for those that are looking for it, I guess, in this conversation. I don't know. Keep watching. Now, off top, I've got to say this. Honestly, I'm disgusted that I even know this information. And I know we said a lot about celebrity worship over the past couple of days, and as this DDG and Halle situation is unfolded, we said that we weren't going to get into it and it's a nasty mess. This is the reason why. I've maintained this sentiment from the beginning. These are very personal and intimate effects, and we don't need to know this. This is something that should be handled out in court, handled between the two of them, but not left for public consumption, because honestly,
true, but once you're a celebrity and you put that out for the public to know about, then it's going to be consumed. Now you have become our entertainment. And it is what it is. You just have to accept that that's the part of what comes with being a celebrity.
honestly, the way that the public consumes is not the best way for this to be judged upon. This isn't their family, this isn't their life, and they should not have so much say so. But let's just jump right into it. Now, all of these things are allegations. DDG claims that Halle Bailey was stalking him using air tags and multiple different tracking devices, not only in the baby's diaper bag, but in multiple different cars.
DDG was wondering why he was getting notification that an air tag was tracking him when he didn't have an air tag. It was her air tag. She put it in the car inside of a vitamin bottle, knowing he wasn't gonna look at no vitamin bottle, and she put it inside of the car, and the air tag was tracking where he went. When Halle arrived at the movie theater, sis was turning up, okay? Sis was screaming before she even got in. She opened the door and didn't even know where he was at. She said, motherfucker, motherfucker, bitch. Sis was going off using every profanity word she could think of inside that movie theater. It was so bad that DDG and the girl had to get up and leave, where she ended up following behind them and was still cursing them out, calling them all type of names, trying to fight the girl, put hands on the girl. The girl had to kind of move it. You know, she ain't trying to fight Halle, because at this point, Halle is good and pregnant at this point. She got a whole belly. I don't even understand how we didn't even capture this footage. Okay, where was the people at in the movie theaters? Child, you know, something like that.
That is preach right there. When TMZ should be around, they're nowhere to be found. It's amazing.
And people ready, they don't even know who you are. They ready to throw their camera up. The Little Mermaid was turning up in the movie theater, honey. She ain't care about who the hell she was at that moment. Y'all was about to feel his wrath. Now let's.
But wait! There's more!
She had seen him be in Akron for a couple of days, but it seemed that DDG had left one of the trackers at Streamer University or something like that. He does also acknowledge in his petition that Halle Bailey did not get hit by him. There was no sorts of physical violence.
Look at this.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it!
Now, we don't know if this is true, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of times where the accusation can be used to harm a man, especially in terms of domestic violence.
I can't hear about allegations right now. You literally just had headphones on. Are you even listening to anything? I can read lips. I thought you were blind. Man, what the fuck you want, dog? There are multiple allegations against Halle, including physical abuse towards the father of their child. Oh, you said the father? We good. Nobody cares about men getting abused. Good job, Halle. Little Mermaid 2 win. She need a raise. But Jonathan Majors wasn't a woman. Is Halle a black man? No. Is DDG a white woman? No. Does anyone care to hear the side of a black man in any abusive relationship? No. So it doesn't matter what happens. Men are guilty by default. Well, that's unfair.
I would hope that neither one of them has hit each other, because they're both alleging that towards each other. But if it's the truth, it needs to be taken serious on both ends, not just on the female side.
Caused by him, but rather the chipped tooth is explained by her launching herself into the front seat, where she went and attempted to punch DDG, and when she launched herself, her tooth hit the steering wheel, and then that's how the whole thing got chipped. And also there's a claim, which if I had any sort of opinion or speculation about this one has to be the one, is that DDG called up to the OB office for Halle Bailey after she had some bleeding and cramps and stuff, only to find out that she had, asked for an aberration, and she had only taken 1 dose out of the 2-dose of aberration procedure. Almost slipped up and said it. And a lot of those things are damning, but probably the most damning allegation is that DDG got allegedly assaulted by Halle Bailey with a knife. And that evidence was depicted
with a knife. That is different. Wonder where all the feminists and all the activists are when you hear that. Let's see how real this is.
In the pictures that he submitted to the court system to say that, hey, it's not me that's doing these things, it's actually her, and this whole thing is crafted by somebody, some mastermind, her, whoever the case may be. Now, because their life is totally on the internet, there's even been video depiction of Halle Bailey having these sorts of effects on her. There's a situation where DDG was seemingly streaming for too long, and Dub had to let her know to, hey, put that down, as she threatened him with a knife if he did not get off stream.
He coming. What am I supposed to do? I think he off. You want me to get up?
I mean, you're still on. We gonna go get some food.
Okay, I'm about to get up.
Okay.
She got a knife in her hand.
That's problematic, and that's a problem, because we know that would not be taken as a joke and lightly if it was reversed.
Put it down. I gotta go, y'all, before I get whooped.
Now, nothing physically depicted there, and I don't think that DDG and his legal team would even use that as some sort of evidence, but this is just a glimpse into how complex their relationship was during the time and is afterwards, which is displayed more throughout those text messages, which were insane. Not to laugh at it, but it was a little bit funny, but which were insane text messages as well. Just showed us how really complex their relationship was throughout this whole thing. One of those things that was discovered in those text messages was the fact that DDG had been allegedly cheating on.
It can be basically a toxic relationship, but let's go over it. Halle, this is proof. You leave me hanging as a mother. Damn, so many damn messages over and over and over and over in the span of a few minutes.
Halle Bailey, or sleeping with another woman who DDG had been claiming was his friend for the longest time. Lala Baptiste, an online internet personality who allegedly was a participant in a action with DDG, as told by Halle through what seemed to be a tirade in the text message thread. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because this brings us to the reactions of people near and dear to the situation, those that might know Halle, those that might know DDG, and what they think about it. And it starts off with Lala basically debunking the narrative that they had any sort of sexual interactions at all, and that DDG is just a close friend.
Context behind these accusations.
Now it's getting even more spicy. So one person thinks the person's cheating and giving these messages. Now we didn't get to see what DDG wrote. And then the person's now saying, hey, I didn't even do anything, which could be a front up lie. So now it's getting spicy.
In general is stemming from a group trip that our whole friend group went on, right? Our whole friend group went on this trip, and everyone on this trip can confirm there was nothing weird going on. I wasn't even staying near them. It was for someone's birthday. Let's start there. There was never anything sneaky going on. Like, me and Daryl's relationship has always been strictly started off as business. Obviously, if you know, like, he put me onto YouTube, started off there, grew into a friendship, has always remained platonic. So it's very unfortunate. Like, I know people already have this narrative because it's just hard to believe that a guy and a girl can be friends. Like, it's hard to believe that me.
It's not hard to believe. It's just most men, and rightfully so, believe that in order for men and women to be friends and for it to be platonic, that man has to truly not find you attractive. If he does, to me, I think it's fundamentally not possible. And it's that simple. Fight me in the comments.
Me and him or any other guy and girl can just strictly be platonic friends. Okay.
It seemed like all day today, Halle Bailey was getting debunked and slandered left, right, and sideways for her beliefs, her actions, and how she was depicted through these text messages, these screenshots, these photos, these whatever the case may be of what Daryl put out in order to get her to look a certain way and, you know, make his claim to the judge that she's not fit and I'm the actual fit one to be taking care of Halo. And Lala wasn't the only one. Because this is the internet and because DDG has grown a following over the past couple of years, it seemed like everybody had their opinion and wanted to support DDG to the fullest against what people have been deeming as evil Halle.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I already said how it is, chat. I stand on it. Chat, y'all know the truth? I put DD in a group chat with my lawyers. Shit.
Oh, so this is the reason why all this is coming out.
Man, my boy Daryl, man, you gotta make sure he's a good dude. He's a good human being.
This is why all this is coming out. It makes sense.
You know, can I just tell you guys something really quick about something like that? There needs to be a clause in legal where if a woman is trying to put allegations on a man and it gets caught in 4K, it's fake, the girl needs to do the time. Like, it's just, why the fuck is this not a thing?
Talking to this nigga Moo, I go to this nigga Moo crib, right?
I agree with that 1,000,000,000%. That is just so true. That needs to be, even though Aiden Ross says some of the most dumbest shit in the world, that is a gem, and that is so true.
We talking, like, you know, we be having, as niggas, you know, you had conversations and just speak about the shit. This nigga says, like, you know, on your phone, right? Like, if something's near and shit, like if like AirPods or something is near, it'll alert you. Dog said he got an alert on his phone for an AirTag. He's like, nigga, wait, what the fuck? Found that motherfucker in the whip.
In more and more clips, videos, screenshots, you know, something like Halle saying in the petition that he was not in LA, but screenshots of DDG actually being on stream where he was in LA came out this whole day. And honestly, I had to look at the Halle side and see how they were going to fight back. And what I got from the timeline was that she was in postpartum, was that she was upset, was that, you know, they're still backing her, was that DDG is lying, child safety, etc., etc., etc. Now, from the outside looking in, this seems like the most out-of-pocket conversation from Halle Bailey and the things that she is trying to plaster on DDG. But I want to go ahead and give a little bit of pause and just let people know that we do not know what's going on. If the only thing that we are talking about is from the legal sense, I think it's good to look at a lawyer's perspective and see what her thoughts are on this.
But even in the court's ability to use their discretion, they have to apply certain basic principles across the board, right? If you're going to limit one parent's time with the child or take a child away from both parents, you have to consider certain things. And there are certain red flags and buzzwords that are always going to move the needle. One is if you are violent, especially domestically. Another is if you're addicted to drugs or you have an alcohol.
And the violent part can always be weaponized heavily towards the male. And we know that it's to a point where it is very imbalanced. But to be fair, the type of damage a man can do can be much more severe than a woman. But regardless, the allegation alone is definitely used and weaponized to take a kid away, for sure.
Alcohol problem. Another one is if you haven't seen the child in a long time. But another one that people don't seem to be understanding in this particular circumstance is if you can show the other parent has mental health issues.
And so I know a lot of people are saying today, after all that evidence, you know, being proven to be in DDG's favor, especially after, you know, they claimed there was postpartum depression, but they pointed out clearly that she wasn't even pregnant at the time. How could this situation go in favor of Halle where she gets to take Halo to Italy? And to be honest with you, I can't speak on it. I don't know. I heard that there was some sort of ring footage that was supposed to come out. I'm curious as to why that hasn't come out yet, since everybody is being so forthcoming. But at the end of the day, that's just a testament to how complex these situations are. We are only getting a glimpse of what the internet is showing us, allowing us to see, or whatever the case may be. We're not getting the full grasp, scope, picture, what they're telling the judges, what's really being presented, etc., etc. We're reading this from our small lens and making judgments on the internet. Now, if Halle did half of the stuff that has been said in these documents and in these claims, listen, get the baby up out of there. Full stop. But to be quite...
That's the right step. That's the right thing to say. And it's sad that for many people, just saying that is extremely hard because of their own biases and they know certain things are not politically okay to say, and you know they got to be on the defensive at all times, but that's as real as it gets. If this is true, they need to do that, because in terms of self-harm when it comes to children, statistically speaking, if you look it up,
Department of Health and Human Services has been tracking the data on child abuse and neglect since 1978 with something called the National Incident Study, NIS. The National Incident Study is a congressionally mandated periodic effort of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. There have been 4 such reports, the latest being the NIS-4, which came out 2010. This includes the breakdown. The NIS gathers data from all reporting agencies that any study will pull from these agencies because it's the congressional authority which is gathering that data. The methodology, the NIS uses a standard definitional framework for classifying child maltreatment, including both types of abuse and neglect. These are the legitimate numbers, and feminists have been hiding them under a rock because they don't want to talk about this issue.
I think that is an interesting theory. I think that a lot of the things that you're talking about go more into theory than into fact. And that's okay. I think that goes into what I'm saying is like, just generally, that's why I'm here, is to debunk a lot of the myths.
Well, you can debunk that myth.
Well, again, you said you would send me the study. Cannot find the study that women are more likely to be perpetrators. It doesn't, I genuinely cannot find a single thing. I've been looking for 5-10 minutes.
You've been looking for what? Have you been looking on NIS?
I literally looked at exactly what you said, cannot find the numbers.
It's okay.
Now, because I'm not, this is not trying to be like an appeal to like authority, but I've done like debate my whole life. And like, obviously, like most of the time we tend to focus on the facts. So to me, if I can't understand the facts, that they don't exist of where I'm finding it, that is a problem for me. Okay.
It is mostly women who do the physical abuse. Now, of course, there are other aspects of abuse that the men do. That's more on the other side of it, but all in all, they're both bad. But overall, you have to take it serious, because there's been cases where it just blows up in your face if you don't step in.
Quite honest with you, I just don't know. In the last video I just did with celebrity worship going too far and parasocialism, I talked about how people take these small glimpses of people online and feel as if they're obligated to more information, that they can pass judgment. But the reality of the situation is that these people are living actual lives. So while we're screaming fuck DDG, fuck Halo, fuck Halle, yeah, and there are some people saying fuck Halo.
Those people are crazy and insane. That kid is innocent and has nothing to do with anything.
Best believe that there are people that are actually in this situation actually getting hurt, whether it be emotionally or physically. And I know fence sitting isn't the most popular thing to do on these platforms about these sorts of topics, but I'm going to be quite honest with you. Stuff like this is so tiring to me, because if you see...
But fence sitting is the safest route on a topic like this, especially when you don't have like the full facts 100%. So it's the safest option, but if it starts leaning more to being true, then you have to stop fence sitting, because that becomes a form of cowardice.
Seen situations like this in real life, and I'm not even necessarily talking about situations of domestic violence, but I'm just talking about complex relationships, and damn near all relationships are complex. You know that it is not cut and dry like that, and you know that ultimately these people are doing these things to get back at each other, and has nothing to do with the health and safety and well-being of the child. I can't excuse any actions, and I don't look to. I can't acknowledge or say that I understand any of these actions, because I don't know what's going on. And personally, I don't think it's any of our business.
Just becoming too toxic. And at this point...
Yeah, that's extremely toxic. It screams too much of an Amber Turd situation. It's something that the courts need to step in and do the right thing. And they have to come to the bottom of this 100%. So I'll stop it from there. At this point, I'll be played out if I keep commentating on this. So we'll leave that here for now.